punishable. Might Live just be goofing around? I'm pretty sure, has Live not played like support sign at some point? I feel like if someone would, it would be him.
I mean, it was the Max special from MVP back in the day. Managed to get a quadra kill on support Scion. That did happen.
That is a thing that happened in the LCK.
That is a thing that's happened in the LCK. Max from MVP was one of my favorite players, not just because his name was Max, but because he would play the weirdest stuff. Kind of miss him, not going to lie. Don't know where he is right now. I think he went overseas, is playing for a different team, but I digress. The Gnar being picked into the Renekton here, some pretty LCK stuff, and that will be locked away.
And I like the Hanwha Live composition quite a lot. I think you have two great damage threats in the Ezreal and the Azir. When you reach the later stage of the game, which thus far every single game has gone at least to 30 minutes plus. Neither team seemingly able to get big decisive leads early on. And you also have a lot of tools. Heimerdinger and Azir both I think are really good into the very short range composition that Live Sandbox has. The only exception to that, of course, Envy, who in mid-game, I think the Sandbox comp is going to have to get a lot done. You're going to have to try and use the power spike, like Karma still being very relevant. I wouldn't even mind if this is not a lethality Varus game. I would actually mind an unhit Varus. I think you have the front line to back it up.
Yeah.
I think you will have the space, at least to a certain extent, and it might really help with the trouble of otherwise come mid to late game. I don't think you're going to get a lot done if it's lethality Varus like we saw last game around.
Yeah, we'll see what Envy is going to go for. I have a feeling it's probably just going to be lethality, but I think there is definitely a lot more merit to be put into more of that on-hit variety. Lucky Boy Birdle. It's a little bit cute. Not sure how lucky he's going to be. Of course, in the last game, didn't look fantastically lucky underneath that turret getting shut down towards the end of it. But still, some opportunities now as the Gnar instead. A lot more teamfight capability here for Birdle to try and stake his claim. Viper fan there looking fantastic in his Hanwha Life Esports attire. And this is the squad that you're going to see for Hanwha Life Esports. Definitely with a lot of power, and I really like the Ezreal adaptation.
Do you think that there might be like some prio in terms of the bottom half of the map, so that might be an opportunity for Sandbox to try and capitalize?
Well, this is your Sandbox comp. We'll see how it goes in game number 3. Hanwha versus Live Sandbox. Let's do it. All right. Teams making their way out onto the Rift here for game number 3. Ezreal Heimerdinger was one of the original Heimerdinger lanes of old. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how it's going to play out here against one of the most traditionally oppressive lanes in the Karma Varus.
There is a comment, so I now have full confirmation that it will indeed be the lethality.
Yeah.
Which to me really decidedly pushes this Sandbox comp into a very mid-range oriented comp. Try and skirmish on the bottom half, or the top side of the map rather, with your Sylas and your Wukong. A lot of power there. Because if you get to the later stage of the game, you can win, of course. There's possibilities. You have so much team fighting power with Sylas finding a bunch of great ultimates on the other side, and a Gnar and a Wukong like really going for the big wombo combos. But I do think the ease of execution for the Hanwha Life comp is very much there, and they've also shown that when it comes to late game, they are the better team. Not necessarily very exciting, not necessarily very engaging, but when they get a Baron, it turns into a massive gold lead, right? Like they immediately are kind of snap back into shape, and for Live Sandbox, that just hasn't really been the case.
Laning phase now upon us here. Towards this bottom side of the map, Hanwha Life Esports getting the shove very nicely. Life actually finding the angles on the Heimerdinger this time. The first time that he's played a champion for the second time here in Game 5. A lot of numbers, but I believe that was correct. And not a lot of victories here for the Heimerdinger thus far, so Life wanted to turn that one around.
Been a bit of a toughie. Again, looking at the lineups that we saw there, take into account which teams they played against, not too surprising. But definitely, nice early prio here. Viper also been really on point with his Mystic shots. That to me has been the main difference maker in this early laning phase.
It does feel a little bit like how Ezreals do sometimes just win early games, is they're the ones that hit. We've seen it many, many times. I think expectation here in the LCK for Ezreal's is extraordinarily high, given the pedigree of Ezreal talent that we've had here in this region. I think LPL and LCK kind of fight for the best Ezreals, as Closer going to get the flash out of Zeka very quickly. Zeka just not wanting to mess around whatsoever, with Willer making his way in.
Ooh, do note here, Willer, his bot side camps are up. Is going to go in here on top of Klid.
Yeah, he's just trying to walk it out here. Does, yeah, just going to fall down. Take me through what happened there, Chronicler.
Well, I don't know. Personally, I was expecting Klid to flash. And he might have made the call, which I think could be true, that he was dead anyway. But I think at the very least you want to force Willer's flash as well. Maybe he's in an off position. Kingen was not in the worst state. Neither was Zeka. Could look for a possible collapse. But yeah, just kind of takes it. Level 3, obviously, for Wukong. Really, really strong. Has the extra attack speed on his E. Is able to get in, as we saw there, a lot of damage within the armor shred, so Sejuani kind of turns into toast. Also, this is a phase rush, Sejuani. No aftershock available, so resistance is just not really existent. Willer, as a result, doing an incredible amount of damage. But mostly, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm a bit confused myself.
Well, it's in line with what we've seen this far, this series. Unfortunately, Klid, to me, has been really the person that's been struggling the most on Hanwha Life. Kingen and Life has kind of been, you know, sometimes they've been more visible, sometimes less. But yeah, to be fair, I think if he does flash there, then Willer also flashes and he dies no matter what.
But also, like, Arctic Assaulting into the Wukong instead of using that to potentially escape as well, which was... Arctic Assault flash probably saves your life at that point in time, but...
Yeah,
flash Arctic Assault, right? Over the wall.
Maybe.
Hard to
I don't know if it'll be enough. But regardless, nicely done by Willer as well, right? Like, trying to look for that. Did take a risk there, and it did usually pay off. His entire bot side just now got cleared after his back. And overall, we still see that the overall gold has not been too bothered. But still, that's a nice start, and that's kind of reminiscent of what happened in game number 1.
No, exactly right. Kingen harassing Bodle a little bit underneath this turret for now. Is going to force Bodle to back for the moment, but he can teleport back in pretty quickly as well, wanting to continue the onslaught. As Control Ward goes in, Zeka gets the bad news, however, shifts some sands. Will be absolutely fine to get out of the way of this one. Would have been a pretty horrible time to die with his teleport just freshly on cooldown.
Yeah, actually killing him I think will be hard even with the flash being down, as Willer might look again. This is a pretty important lane state here for Zeka, and he knows. He has an inkling.
Oh, Conquering Sad's going to come through there as he does try and put up another Sand Soldier. Closer does have the Emperor's Divide available, didn't even need to use it, as that is going to be the second kill for Liv Sandbox, picked up in the mid lane.
It's a bit of a jungle gap, Atlas, with Wheeler getting a solo kill first, and then the one member on Hanwha Life that has been performing no matter what the game state is has been Zeka. So what do you do as Wheeler and Closer? Just murder him. And thus far, Liv Sandbox looking very decisive. They need to with their composition. I do think that they're really looking for these early mid-game spikes, as Viper really showcasing the possibility of Ezreal's just winning any lane if you're just good enough and you don't miss any Qs.
He does feel like that champion, doesn't he? As far as just some Ezreals just win.
It's also some games, right? As Wheeler trying to put a stop to it. There is a ward though, so I don't think Viper and Life should be under any threat here.
Yep. Difficult without the Cyclone to lock anything down as we hop into this replay here. And Zeka, no flash and no Conquering Sands as well. Gets interrupted on his way through while he's trying to shift his way back, and so he's just definitely dead.
Worst part there is that even if he did get the shuffle off, I'm pretty sure Closer just flashes Shurima's him back, and then Might's still in trouble. Early Infernal Drake, definitely one of the best individual Drakes that you could possibly get, right up there with the Mountain Drake. And loving what Liv Sandbox is doing thus far as Closer. Clearly, this is a priority ult. He just wants to get back.
Yep. Also was probably running out, so just have to use it. May as well throw it on the minions.
Looks funny though.
It definitely does.
As Birdle does have flash, but there is a very easy dive available. Of course, this is Renekton with flash up as well.
Well, there is no ulti available for Clid. Let's see whether they can lock this one down. He does manage to get the stun. Hop timing is good for the buffering. Winter's Wrath comes in as now Kingan's in trouble. One more would have been enough, but Bertle's not going to bite off more than he can chew, and that's a failed dive for Harmor Life.
Can't be disjointed, right? The fact that Bertle was able to actually get his hop off, very nicely done. As Kingan, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, Mega Nah going to be there, and Kingan's like, why is all this health back? He knows exactly why. Of course, but still. Going to be a bit of back is going to come through for the Crocodile.
I mean, if Bertle goes near the brush, but I'm seeing things, yeah, he suspects it. Now knows, will be completely fine. And that might actually, I was about to say, that might actually kill Kingan. They're going to go for the Herald instead. I do like this call quite a lot. I think killing the Renekton is nice, but taking the ensured gold and you basically have no contest whatsoever. Makes it very easy. It's also very hard to dive a Karma, even though you can get a crash. Stacking a big wave is very tough. And it's not really coming together as, Jonas Strong.
Oh, here we go. We're following it, and it's just going to do some damage there. Oh, double value.
Double damage.
Oof,
Viper trying to win everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, he won the jungle and the top lane as far as damage done is concerned. He's done way more damage to them than they have done to him.
That's how it works?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could, if that was how it worked. Envy tidying up these minions down by about a wave. Otherwise, not too much to worry about as far as the Varus is concerned. Feeling like a bit of a wash down there towards that bottom side. The Ezreal certainly working in the way that Harmor Life Esports want it to, though, because it's neutralized what can be a very oppressive pushing lane in the Karma Varus.
And I like that Harmor Life is able to do such a good job here, because this to me is like one of the lanes where things are not a little bit on fire, right? Top lane is still fine, King is still ahead, but dives like that take up a lot of attention, and it's the reason why Willer is now able to be up a substantial amount of CS, combined with, of course, his early kill that he was able to get. And the Divine Sunrise Spike on Wukong combined with a Rod of Ages for Closer and possible Triforce for Berto as well. Like, once all those items comes through, I really want to see Sandbox continuously fight for the next Drake as well. We do have a couple of not-so-great Drakes still left in the rotation, with both Infernal and Mountain going to be unavailable. So, best case scenario is probably Hextech.
Yep.
Also, my favorite Rift in general, so I would absolutely love that. As
nice grenade from Life, just to disengage. Having a bit of a zoom in here onto Closer as he tidies up the minion wave. Spins around a whole bunch of times. The Azir's just going home. In touching distance, as far as the CS is concerned here, is Zeka, but still I think Closer is in a great position this game.
He also has finishes Rod of Ages, so he's very happy. He's having a wonderful time. Item is incredibly strong at the moment, and the fact that it is perfectly buildable on Sylas is not fun for anyone that Sylas plays. Meanwhile, in bot lane, minions are getting taken, and as expected with these two lanes, like, no one should die. Nothing should really happen. They just exist.
That is precisely what's going on. True Shot Barrage just to get rid of this wave. Envy sticking around so that he doesn't miss out on the experience.
I have good vision, so I think they can afford to as Closer!
He lands the chains. There's the Emperor's Divide. Zeka being thrown around, has his own ulti, though, and gets rid of Willa right as he's using that Warrior Trickster. Really nicely done, but Liv Sandbox still going to be able to get Shelly into the mix and look to take down some more plates, so it's still advantage over to Closer.
Nicely done by Zeka. Going to be alive nonetheless, but I don't think they can actually get the turret down while the plating are still up. Clid also is in the general vicinity. Not going to get too much done, but that is two ultimates invested just before a Drake comes up. However, do note, Viper and Life need to catch a back here. And even with the ultimates down, Wheeler now coming off of the back. I guess we're not going to be going for it on spawn. Sandbox first, timing their recalls. Okay, extend. Envy and KL obviously a little bit later as both Viper and Life also going back. We have Ghostblade, we have Triforce being done. And with teleports up for both top laners as well, I'm hoping for a bit of a fight around this Drake.
Yeah. See who's going to go for it first. Right now, Harmor Life Esports with access to the river. Control ward there behind the pit, though, for Liv Sandbox. Definitely great news if Bertle can get his Nahbar into a good position, get that flanking teleport angle. Be a very dangerous moment for Life Esports fans, as Kyle needs to be careful. That is a Glacial Prison forcing a flash. Very nicely done from Cleared. It looks like Hanwha wanting to get this Drake off the Rift as quickly as possible.
I've seen this one stolen before.
Yeah, Closer and Will are making their way in. The Drake is going to go down, but can they actually keep themselves alive is the question, as Kyle going to be missed by the True Shot barrage, but he is still going to go down. Karma's going to be taken, Willer as well, not tanky at all, and Viper can just chase. Takes down the Wukong and allows the rest of them to live. Ooh, okay, that piercing arrow did a fair bit of work there to Life, probably the empowered variety, but Life Esports now back on the board.
And very important there for Hanwha Life, they both get the dragon, but then are also able to win the subsequent team fight. And I think the lack of ultimates really being felt there for Sandbox. They invested a lot in trying to kill Zeka in mid lane, which didn't end up working out. And then on the bot side of the map, same, because even though Envy was able to force back, wasn't quite enough. Ooh, Viper might be in trouble here.
He could. Has to flash, actually. Get out of the way of Envy. Piercing arrow coming back off cooldown right now. But Viper vacates the area. So, does manage to take the flash from the Ezreal.
Might be a Willer angle here with no flash available, but let's take another look at this. Kyle, of course, already having to use his flash. And the problem here for Sandbox is that they are very, very split. So, Closer and Wheeler are joining the fight while Envy and Kyle are basically already dead. Life actually doing a lot of heavy lifting there because they're fighting on top of the big Heimer turret, and even the two small ones got a lot of damage done. And if all four members are there at the same time, maybe it'll look a little bit better. So some disjointedness from Sandbox and a nice trigger pull by Hanwha to get that early Drake.
Exactly. You just wait until the dash cannon's completed, Chronicler. And
I still don't love that.
More, yeah, not a fan. But still, he's going to do it one more time. Let's see whether he can pick up a win. Bit of extra plate gold going over to Live Sandbox, of course, thanks to Shelly. Very nicely done there. You can see a few plates going down in this mid lane, and a lot of money being given over to Closer. Once again, it feels like a battle of two mid laners. And Zeka last time around didn't exactly have the best time on the Azir. And it was a bit of a field day for Closer's Akali. This is the first time we've seen this particular matchup, as it's just been Sylas, Azir, Akali all series long. And this is one of the matchups that we haven't seen yet. So looking forward to seeing who's going to be able to make their mark first. Is now Life going to get a Chain of Corruption thrown towards him, but just not exactly at the right angle, as Willer looks for his way in, doesn't quite get there. Dash Cannon not available yet for Life, so couldn't reposition if he was actually engaged on.
Yeah, well, it could have gotten the kill there, but trading support for jungler with the arrow up, not going to feel great. And overall, this is where I think Liv Sandbox is really going to try and utilize the fact that Envy's poke is extremely relevant. Has hit his 1-item power spike on the Ghost Blade to try and really put some pressure on objectives. They're playing the game a little bit too slow for my liking. I do think that as we get further and further to the game, right, the fact that Zekai's Mythic was delayed pretty substantially because he had to go for an Oblivion Orb. He was also taken down early. Might lead to trouble, but that's when we're talking in like 10, 15 minutes. Right now, I think Sandbox still very strong, going to remain the case as they hit their second item spike. Closer also 5 stacks now on the Rod of Ages, and that is always going to be a really, really big moment for any champion, especially someone like Sylas, who the moment he gains 16 becomes, well, not quite casting levels, but he gets to have a lot of fun with his hijack.
Certainly does. The couple of ultimates in a team fight could mean Glacial Prison and Emperor's Divide, two very, very powerful ultimate choices that Sylas can make. Is Viper going to be tagged by that piercing arrow? But so far, Envy wanting to get his eye in a little bit more, misses yet another Chains of Corruption. Getting flashbacks to, players by the likes of Yellow Pete back in the day. A lot of pros really struggling with Chains of Corruption when Varus first came out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still think it's... generally, when you see Chains of Corruption, it's either fired from Fog or it's follow-up. Because...
it is a difficult one to land.
More so, I think the LCK pros are good enough to just sidestep it consistently because it is a very slow projectile. Life also a great example of that. And for Sandbox, if this is going to constitute their mid-game, then I would like to file a complaint. I would like a little bit more. King also continuously making sure he keeps clearing the waves here, which denies Birtle the opportunity to get a first turret blood, because all turrets are still up. we are in a bit of a
lull state.
of a loss, and that gives us the opportunity to go back to what we were talking about earlier. What would be the ultimate League of Legends LCK super team with current players?
Ah, okay.
So Faker is Faker and Deft are, I think, you don't really have any other option.
But wait, do you want like
I'm saying
famous players, or do you want the best possible team?
Nah, both. Crossroads. I want to fulfill both categories
At the same time in
Yeah.
one team? Okay, well then Faker and Deft is probably a must put in. Canyon would then be in the jungle.
Yeah.
Top lane is an interesting one.
I know, because Zeus is probably the best.
Yeah, it's
but
probably
he's not the
Zeus.
most famous.
Yeah, but I think it's still Zeus, right?
I'd say so.
Yeah, and then support is carrier.
Yeah.
So it's most of T1.
We've just ended up with
another
T1 with Canyon again. Like we're
yeah, it's
going
T1
back to
with
that
Canyon,
well.
but we've also got Deft now. That'd probably be the ultimate super team. But super teams have been a pretty colossal failure so far in the LCK, just because they don't get the results that a lot of the investment into them would really require, right?
I don't think it's just the LCK. Right? Like, it feels to me like this is something that plagues every region.
Are you saying that 100 Thieves is not going to achieve phenomenal things this year?
I don't like the position you put me in, Atlas. I'm not going to respond.
Well, Zeka, he just doesn't like his sense. I'm just going to give a bit of a thumbs up there as Bertel is going to throw an ultimate. Clid just says, I'm here, and then leaves. And we are going to see it all disengage.
So, Atlas, you want to talk about your completely unwarranted random shade towards 100 Thieves? Like, what's going on there?
No. I just think it's a super team, and I'm worried.
Are you worried? Or
Yeah,
are
just
you...
in general. Like, when someone says super team, I think of 2017 KT.
Nah.
Pretty colossal failure as far as that was concerned. And then 2019 SKT.
Yeah.
Which was probably one of my favorite super teams. That team had some absolutely amazing players on it, and it flopped really hard.
Yeah, I remember that.
It wasn't great. I think there was a certain player in this game on that team. Yeah, it just didn't work out, and sometimes expectation like that really does lead to difficulty. So we'll see whether Harmolife Esports can answer that particular problem.
There's just a lot of gaming going on, but there's not a lot happening. Maybe now, Zeka can be the difference maker.
Exactly. Emperor's being divided all over the place. They do manage to get the flash out of Zeka. They'll take that as, okay, Envy picks himself up a Glacial Prison. That is not what he wants. For Shot Barrage goes wide, though, and Clid tanking up the turret for a little while longer. Doesn't want to stay there for too long, as now Will is going to turn up. Cyclone just finds no joy at all. And Viper now taking things into his own hands. Actually hits every ability. And Bertel going to have to back away. Oh, man. This is the Viper game. Are you feeling it? Are you starting to feel the Vipering happening?
I'm feeling the Vipering. It's Vipering or closering. Those are the two options. He's going to walk in.
Yeah, Kingen does find himself the Ravenous Predator. Ruthless Predator, sorry. But Closer's still going to make it to his inner turret. Clid is clearing a ward.
Still no one has died. Baron might. Maybe. I don't know if I agree with this Harmolife. Like, tried it before. Back then it worked, but
they have Leandri's Azir. Willow's going to come on over. It's going to be a 50-50.
I don't like this.
If this does happen, they do find him as Bertel finds a massive ult into the backline. He might die as Empress Divide's massive. Clid gets the smite. Silas takes him down, though, and now Harmolife Esports have to run away. But it looks like the heist was a success.
The Sandbox, you can kill them. Oh, they could have really gotten a lot done there, but in the end, it's going to be Harmolife picking them up. Liv Sandbox not seeing the angles that were there, not wanting to chase back into Fog. And we already know, the moment that Harmolife picks themselves up a Baron, that's when trouble does arise. Bertel this is a really nice play, but there also isn't really a lot of substantial follow-up. A great shuffle from Zeka means that both Closer and I think it was, Bertel are behind the Baron, taking a lot of extra damage there initially, and that was all the time they needed to buy. And I guess this is Harmolife's mid game. We start Baron, and then, we just flip it.
There are some teams that have made a whole lot of success happen with that exact play style, and they are in this very.
Were they a super team?
Ooh, did they achieve super results? Then yes, cleared. Looking for the backline, finds it. Nicely done. True shot barrage also going to connect, but otherwise not too much happening here as Zeka going to have to run away. Willa tries to get in there with the Warrior Trickster, but enough space gained by the Azir. As we have 4-1s happening on both sides. Renekton bottom lane, Silas mid lane, sorry, top lane. And Willa and Clear battling it out. A lot of poke. They try and stop these flanks from happening on both sides. Viper taking a fair bit of damage there. Wants to get that transformation. He's so incredibly close on that Mura Manor. As King in here with the Baron, remember, is going to be able to push faster than that of this Silas. So Closer comes back to the mid lane to try and stop that. But it means the Renekton can just do whatever the heck he wants. Live Sandbox, you have to get something done.
The problem is that they don't really have engaged. Without Flash, Willa's range is fairly limited. Like, Homolife's playing around this really nicely. Just in and out, going for skill shots. As Live.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Big old altered grenade to come through there. True shot barrage collected here by Closer. And possibly throw that one through. Chains of Corruption does connect. There's not really much of a follow-up. Empowered Q is good, but it's only on to Life. I don't think he's too worried about the situation. Sundisk comes up, and Hummerlife Esports going to head on over and look for Soul Point, which is now available. Very pretty Rift in the Ocean Rift. Not exactly the most impactful Drake as far as souls are concerned. Still, they're going to be very happy about it.
Overall, Baron, not that relevant, right? They're able to get a 3k gold lead, but in the previous 2 games it was a lot bigger. But we do see that Homolife has clearly identified that Sandbox have one mode, and that's all in. The only range they have is Varus. Of course, Karma at this point in the game, not that relevant anymore. So Envy is the only poke they have. The rest of the team needs to go in. So Humble Life is go in and out. And especially with their summoners up, Ezreal, Heimerdinger, in terms of just being
Peace. Peace.
With those options.
On the back line, because you don't need to kill Viper and Zeka both. Like, if you can just stun one of them, kill Life, and they'll Clit, and they'll King, and that's good enough as is.
All right, well, we've got double dominance being popped here as Life is going to stun up Closer.
Oh, are we going to keep going?
Yeah.
Keep fighting? No, maybe not. Okay, too much action. I'm sorry. I didn't want to false alarm.
No. And no alarm.
아, 선을 트인다며. 선파자. 그건가? 이게 죽어? 아, 선을 트인다며. 선파자. 그건가?
There you go. Well, it's not a super team.
Yeah, it's a super team that no one knows is a super team, and therefore escapes the super team title.
And
the
curse.
Oh, that's gorgeous. So Morgan's definitely the top laner.
For you, yeah, that was
I'd put Karis in the mid lane. Umpty's probably my jungler, and I'd put Henna as the AD carry.
I know what you're doing, Atlas.
Probably Effort.
No.
I think Effort would be the support.
I want a genuine answer.
No, that's it. That's probably my not super team right there.
You are unbelievable.
Sometimes
you are such a people pleaser. You know that.
I mean, bro is the answer. As Kingin is going to have to flash. That's the answer to survival in this particular moment. That's going to get him out of there.
I should have known. That was on me. I walked right into it. I heard Morgan. I was like, okay, this is still. And then Umpty came like, oh,
oh no.
Oh, I know what's coming.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Clit. Can you find Willa here? Because that would mean that in 13 seconds, this Baron would be
I don't think
a big opportunity.
Anyone is finding anyone in this game.
Well, they found them. They're just finding them alive and then saying, that's okay.
We talked about rom-coms, right? This is like when they're miscommunicating.
No, this is when you pause and go and have dinner.
No.
But the rom-com's paused, right?
No, I don't think it's paused. I think this is where, you know, they're each off doing their own thing, and it's not. They're not
this is like the time passes, but we're not like
it's the montage.
The time hasn't actually passed.
Yeah, but unfortunately for us, we don't.
Yeah,
we don't have a fast forward button, so we're just in the montage.
Oh no.
Of like several mundane things happening, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe in the background.
You can see the seasons.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Exactly.
They're walking down the street, and
the
it's like
construction side is done suddenly.
Yeah. I'm just imagining that scene from Notting Hill. Yeah, but
any other rom-com.
But we're still in winter. Hasn't got to spring yet. Summer hasn't happened. We're not in autumn yet.
I'm going to assume that Closer is about to get his death cap, which is a really big spike. So thank you for that. There we go. Oh, LCK observers, you just know what we're thinking about.
Gorgeous. There's a cute little back timer, and there it is. The hat is done.
Well, are you ready for the third game in a row, rather? The one team fight that's going to decide the outcome of this game, probably.
Oh, the Sauron of team fights. Absolutely, I am ready.
Sauron?
The Ring of Power, you know? Like,
yeah, no,
the one team fight.
Yeah, I guess.
Sauron is sort of somewhat related to that. Okay, Envy, gonna get missed. Envy, it's your turn. Can you land? Chains of Corruption. Start this one off as
go in
for the flank. Gets into that back line. Steals Emperor's Divide. Throws them all back in. Immediately, the Heimerdinger has been taken down as Viper is still alive. He's going to be a big difference maker, but not if he has no front line to stand behind. Clit is still going to be there. Zekker is still alive. Viper's there. But now Liv Sandbox have taken away Kingen in life, and they should have run of the map.
Yeah, they should be able to pick themselves up at the very least. The Drake, I mean, I kind of wanted them to go for Baron. They can't because they don't want to give up the Ocean Soul, but this does mean that the actual impact of this amazing play coming through from Closer is just that. As no way.
I liked the zoom though.
At the very least, they'll be able to take control of the. They should be able to take control of the pit, but this is where you see, I think, some of the inexperience. I would have loved if they had just sent 4 people to Baron, and then maybe a single person to Drake, right? Where you can still threaten it, or at least make sure the Hanwha doesn't get it, because this play is beautiful. And I don't know if you're going to get another opportunity like this, right? Like, Closer is an incredible Azir, and we're seeing it come to fruition right here. The 2 Azir walls basically block up everything, so very nicely second the fight to make sure that the connection is dealt with appropriately as well. But now, Liv Sandbox have used a ton of cooldowns, flash down for Wheeler, Closer, and Envy, for a Drake.
Yeah.
That's not enough.
However, they now have all their ultimates back available once again. And,
Zekker!
Is fighting Zekker. Yeah, he thought he might have had some sort of flank angle, but he's just dead. Will is going to lock down that kill,
huge.
And now 4 versus 5. This Baron should go to Liv Sandbox very easily.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's a disaster.
They're going to get it. Oh, you got to keep Clit out of the pit.
Yeah, his smites have been pretty good. You can say what you want about Clit. Definitely nothing wrong with his smites. All right, they're going to try and turn it here. Close is going to get taken down. The Baron does go to Liv Sandbox. Sacrificing their mid lane. No mid lane for either team for the next little while. But still, Baron on 4. Liv Sandbox back in control.
And immediately, Hanwha Life are going to be able to snipe away this mid lane turret, are going to be able to get that. But yeah, Zekker maybe feeling a little bit of the shackles, as we talked about previously, of him having to make big moves for this team. But I don't even know if that's as true anymore, because he does have Viper being monstrously fat, and yeah, literally is just walks straight in the Birdle.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a gnaw.
Mega gnaw, even. As Closer, I think, doing a great job single-handedly making sure that Clit doesn't join this pit. I don't think he wanted to take that chain, unfortunately for him, but still, big win for Sandbox. And now I want to see them actually be able to utilize this, because their Baron power plays have been extremely underwhelming. I want to see them play with the confidence, like, you just won a big team fight.
Yeah.
You have the Baron buff. Please, get value out of it.
Well, Closer's going to be teleporting in. He's going to head towards that bottom side, get things
Sync up
shoved.
those waves. Come on. You have great poke as well.
Yeah.
With Envy being a little bit more fat now, but like it's going to be on forward just Virgil having the flash kind of tries to bring him down. At the very least, should be able to get this off to the side.
be the push location. Let's see whether...
Okay.
Life Esports
Very
defend.
good.
Looks like the answer is no.
Well, that from Sandbox. Good that they're doing so.
Yes, absolutely.
Is Viper gonna kill Burble? It's like every time I see an Ezreal that's as good as Viper, as fat as this, I'm like...
Yeah, he has Cyrildas now completed as well.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunity to be very frustrating as closer. Now upgrade some things, throws the grenade immediately. As you can see there, chains do go wide.
It's going very well.
Yeah.
Slow and steady.
Kingen is taking an inhibitor turret, and no one seems to have noticed. As those backs are at least going to get stopped. And this inhibitor turret is going to remain standing, I believe. Closer puts together his Zhonya's, further augmenting his ridiculous amount of power that he has put together. This game still feels like it's absolutely anyone's. This Baron buff, only another 27 seconds to go. The lead is 1,000. And at 33.5 minutes, that's zero. Yeah.
And I do think that the Humble Life comp is obviously very strong in terms of wave clear in normal situations. This to me does feel like Liv Sandbox not quite able to, you know, get the waves quite synced up. No one's dealing with the Renekton, so they feel kind of obliged to go back and deal with that. But everyone backs, even though if you just get a couple of cannons wailing on the bot side turret, you can at the very least open up that inhibitor, you know, which make any subsequent play a lot easier. I don't expect that you'll be able to get the inhib, but just taking down the turret already gives you a highway in as Closer.
Kingen might be in trouble. He does go golden.
I know about that
There's
one.
Dominus left available. He's going to flash to get himself out of the way, but doesn't have a lot more options. The Gnar comes in, the wallop. He's fantastic. Will gets into the back line. The Emperor's Divide is decent. His life looking to flash away, but that's Rooftop Barrage. Also doing a lot of work. As Humble Life, they salvage what was left of that situation, but now Klid's by himself yet again. Arctically assaults away. With Sandbox, they find yet another angle.
Oh, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like Sandbox should be a little bit more aggressive. There's a couple of these moments where members of Humble Life get away with a very, very low health bar, but you also see, for Humble Life, if they get caught in a jungle and their flanks are not warded, you're toast. Like, you're gone. You're not going to be able to win unless Viper has the team fight of his life, because when the fight comes from every direction, it is so incredibly hard. The amount of ability available for Liv Sandbox is just very, very tough to deal with. As I think you just let Kingen die, because this actually goes way better than it should have. Life should have died here as well, but threatened by Viper and Zeka, the entirety of Liv Sandbox decides the better of it. But if this is Liv Sandbox a few weeks down the line, I think they just end the game right here. And overall, really a resurgence, back-to-back team fight wins, and it's just a Drake. Again, it's still not the game actually being broken open, but the individual looks for Humble Life, where the issues rather kind of seem like they are still persisting.
Absolutely. One thing that is also persisting is Viper putting items together. Watch now online. Also, 4 done for Zeka. So the item timings that Humble Life Esports managed to make it to in their most recent victory has started to come together. However, I feel like Liv Sandbox have been finding these angles, and I feel like Humble Life Esports haven't been able to work out exactly what a one team fight really looks like so far this game.
Exactly, and the problem is that thus far Liv Sandbox has always been the one instigating, right? And I do think that the Humble Life comp really benefits from having a little bit of time, at least a fair amount of setup, being able to get some poke down. Ezreal now also has the Ravenous. Zeka sitting on 4 items, so a couple of autos here and there, a Q that hits, maybe one of the backline members, and you can really start threatening Sandbox. But Sandbox have been much more decisive, I think, than in game number 2, even though we joke and the kill number of the game obviously is still very, very low. And the difference maker to me has been Closer.
Really, I might just face it now.
Oh, Envy.
Yeah, they look for him, but Closer also finds Kingen in that backline as well. Zeka still yet to make it into the fight as
there comes Willer!
Going to fall down. Kingen goes into the Dominus, and Viper has been taken already! Oh, Liv Sandbox have done it. Humble Life Esports are just spread onto the ground. And Liv Sandbox are just going to push forward. Zeka is going to look on in horror as they lose their first series of 2023.
Protect that minion! That's the president! Keep him safe!
Well, they're also just going to look to try and pick up this kill. There's Emperor's Divides going in every direction. But as you were talking about, protect that minion indeed. The siege minion so important to making this happen. A Conquering Sands will be enough to grab it, but the teleport will keep it alive. And these Nexus turrets are going to be taken down. That was the Chains of Corruption you wanted to hit. They'll complete the ace, and Live Sandbox get the upset win.
What a moment here after getting completely dismantled. One of the worst games I've had to cast personally. They come in. Cool kids never panic, Atlas. And as it turns out, in this case, Live Sandbox did not panic. They found the angles. This was, to me, actually a pretty hard POG vote because Closer and Birdle.
Closer, Birdle, and Willa also all had fantastic games.
Entire topside just playing so well. And Envy, he was not the main character today. Obviously, he had a really good Ezreal game, but he persevered and a bounce back against a team like Hanwha Live after the public humiliation that he suffered, to me, is incredible. And it seems like romance is not dead in 2023, Atlas.
And it's so weird because in Live Sandbox's last game, last series, it was them getting embarrassed. And now I have to say, kind of embarrassing for Hanwha Live Esports, right? Like, this is